Oh boy, some feelings are going to get hurt with this one. What are some parts for the Infiniti Q50 that I hate? Let's get into this one. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping in. If you're new to the channel, I appreciate you, but hit that little subscribe button down below and hit that little bell notification as well. I do 3 videos every single week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, and sometimes in between there as well. So I'm sure there's going to be some content on this channel that you may be interested in. So let's dive right into this one. I got a few. I got a list of 4 or 5 in mind, but there might be more as I go along. So let's just roll with it. Number 1. I'll just jump right into it. We'll just crush some feelings right here. A lot of you guys know, if you've been following along, how I feel about cold air intakes for the Q50. They just don't yield that much in terms of horsepower over just regular drop-in filters. But with that being said, there are some specific cold air intakes that I just can't stand. 2 intake systems in particular, unfortunately, both of them are companies that I like generally. The first is K&N, and the second is AEM. Both make high quality air filters. Good stuff. I've used both on multiple vehicles over the years. Unfortunately, the intake systems for the Q50 produced by these 2 companies are essentially worthless because they're hot air intakes. They don't reuse the factory air boxes. They're just open in the engine bay, exposing the filter and your intake system to all of that super hot engine bay heat. And of course, the VQ37 is a high temperature engine. So they just don't work. So if you're going to choose a cold air intake system for your Q50, go with the Takata, whatever you want to say, that uses the factory airbox, or at least part of the factory airbox, and encloses that filter, allowing it to bring in cold air from outside of the car, rather than sucking that hot engine bay heat in like the AEM or the K&N systems do. No good. 2 of those, don't like them. The second part that I don't like for the Infiniti Q50 is Megan Racing test pipes, and really Megan Racing anything, but test pipes in particular. It has that flex pipe built in. It's just a weak point. They get too hot, that flex pipe fails, and then you get leaks. The test pipes are no good. People ask me what test pipes that I recommend. I literally answer them with anything other than Megan Racing. For the most part, a lot of them are great. Burke, Manzo even is good. Beluga Racing that you get on eBay, actually not too bad. I ran them on the Q50 for a while. Lasted a long time. Never had any issues with them. I actually gave them away because I went non-resonated for a time, but I didn't have any trouble with the Beluga Racing for a pretty decent price. It's hard to beat. But the Megan Racing test pipes, though, just junk. Stay away from them. Number 3 might bother a few people. Maybe not, though, but I just have a feeling about this. Number 3, I'm going to say RSR down lowering springs. The super downs aren't so bad, but they're really low. The RSR downs, however, always seem to have a tendency to sag in the rear. And people have even put posts on Reddit saying, do my RSR springs look like they're sagging in the rear? Or is my stance uneven with the rear end being lower? So there's people out there that are seeing this as well, and it's not just me. It's something that I noticed right away when I was searching for different options in terms of lowering my Q50. At first, I was thinking about going with lowering springs, and of course, RSR is a well-known brand, and it's one that everyone in this community seems to be going toward. And I just noticed right away that the rear end of these Q50s always seem lower than the front, and that's a terrible look. If anything, you want a little bit of a rake. It gives it more of an aggressive look from the rear being just a tiny bit higher than the front, kind of sloping downward, just gives it more of an aggressive stance. But you certainly don't want that rear end being lower than the front. That just looks stupid. So for that reason, RSR down springs, junk. I know I said I had 5 or 6 ideas, but I think I got 2 more. We'll just cut it at 5 and make it a nice round number. But I gotta say thank you guys for all of your engagement for these videos as well, because a lot of these video ideas come from suggestions from you all. So keep them coming. I get to every single comment, so make sure you leave them down in the comments below if you do have any ideas. This one in particular came from someone who had just watched a video about my favorite modifications, and they asked, well, what modifications don't you like? So here we are. Now let's move on. Number 4, parts that I don't like for the Infiniti Q50 is really anything Godspeed. Sort of on the same level as Megan Racing. A lot of people go toward Godspeed because, I don't know, maybe it sounds cool. They're red and they're inexpensive. You can get upper control arms, adjustable upper control arms for your Q50 for like $250 or something like that. It's kind of hard to beat, but just trash parts, honestly. They got rear control arms too for Q50s, G35s, 350Zs, 370Zs. Again, decent price point, and people just go for them, and they're just not good. They're actually on my 350Z. Came like that from the previous owner. They're on the list to get changed out. They're noisy. I can hear the problems with them. They seem to work in terms of alignment, but you just don't know how long something like that is going to last. The material quality is poor, construction quality, design quality is poor. You just can't trust them, especially if you do any aggressive or spirited driving. You don't want to be put in a situation where something fails or your alignment is constantly going out of spec and you're burning through tires prematurely. If you're going to spend the money, spend it properly up front. I do say there's opportunities out there to get a bargain or find deals, or get maybe sort of an off-brand or a lesser known brand and still have quality. But in certain cases like those control arms, I would avoid them for real. And number 5, the final part on the list that I can't stand for the Infiniti Q50. And I know this one's gonna hurt some feelings because there are a bunch of fanboys out there, but hey, it is what it is. So number 5 is Motordyne exhaust, a Motordyne catback system for your Q50. I can't stand it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It looks nice and fancy, sure. It's got some V-bands, I think, on it. It's nice and polished stainless, but it's only going to look like that for a mile down the road. Then it's going to look like every other exhaust system underneath the car. I also don't like how it comes into a Y, into a single inlet, and reduces that overall internal volume of the exhaust, going into a mid-muffler and then back out to duals. I think it's my preference is an X-pipe at that point to not reduce the internal volume. I've also heard a lot of reports over the last 12 or 18 months or so that quality is going down dramatically with welds breaking and the mid-muffler failing and things like that. So, and I know that happens to the best of them out there, but for $2,000, $2,500, $2,700, whatever people are paying for this damn system, that's just unacceptable in my opinion. And on top of that, it's still raspy. It's still raspy. You get up to that 3,000, 3,500 RPM range and you still get that tinny, tangy, weird resonating noise out of that system for a small RPM window, but it doesn't sound good. Some people like it, but I just think it's gross. And I've mentioned this before, and other people say, well, that's why you get the arc pipes, right? Well, that's dumb. Now you're spending $1,000 on test pipes with extra resonators attached to almost a $3,000 catback system, and it doesn't sound any better than any of the other systems out there. And on top of that, it doesn't even perform better on the dyno. So there are a lot more options out there that sound just as good, if not better, and perform just as well, if not better. The Speed Culture Studios custom catback system, for example, fraction of the price, sounds better with no rasp, and it performs just as well, if not better, on the dyno. So, don't go the Speed Culture route, that's fine. Get something aftermarket, that's cool. I'm just saying that for the money that you spend on this Motordyne system, not even close to worth it. If you got the money, go for it. Nothing against anybody that buys this system, but it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever when there are so many more options out there for a fraction of the price. So that's my take on it. Hopefully that didn't piss too many people off, but let me know in the comments below if I missed any parts that are nonsense for the Q50s. I'm always interested to get your guys' feedback. I appreciate you watching though. I appreciate the continued support. More stuff coming for the channel, onward and upward for you guys, onward and upward for Speed Culture. I'm pumped about what's to come. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. See you in the next one.